of all, it is really an honor to have been chosen to be a panelist for the first ever Mass Cultural Council Institute. This is an amazing day. I can't think of a better way to start a weekend than spending time with artists and people who are in our cultural organizations. So I'm from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which is out in the Berkshires, and I want to give a little bit of background about our city, a little bit of its history, where we are today and where we hope to go as it relates to art and culture, and sort of the role that government has, that local government, that the city of Pittsfield has had in nurturing the art and culture community in our city. So Pittsfield is one of those cities that Anita referenced in her opening remarks, a one-town city. It was a General Electric city. We, at one point, had almost 60,000 residents. General Electric had an enormous footprint right in the heart of our city. They employed upwards of 10 to 12,000 people at a time. They were a major, major part of Pittsfield's history, culture, economy. The people that worked there lived in our neighborhoods. Their kids went to our schools. They participated in politics. They had powerful union groups. They were really an entrenched and important part of Pittsfield's history for probably 40 years. So we have generations of Pittsfielders who still today remember the legacy of General Electric. Well, over time, in the late 70s and early 80s, they began to shut down certain parts of their facility. And eventually, the last guy there turned off the lights, and GE was gone. Completely. Completely gone. They left behind contaminated land, vacant buildings, and a lot of community heartache. People lost their jobs. It was devastating. It was epic devastation to our city back in the late 70s and early 80s. And we are still struggling to recover from that post-industrial decline. So we went from 60,000 residents to 45,000, just under 45. So what does that mean to a community? Vacant houses, vacant land, low value in our community, low value property. And a psychology that I describe as group depression, right? A lot of anger, a lot of group depression, a lot of just, for 20 years, we have suffered from what was devastating to the community, both from a psychological standpoint and economic standpoint. Our identity was completely tied up with General Electric. Now, when I talk about this story, and I talk about how important it is to honor and remember that past, it's also important to understand that we are now designing our future, right? And millennials will say to me when I tell this story, they'll say, will you please stop talking about GE? I don't understand it. I don't relate to it. I wasn't here then. Can we move on, right? So that's an important message that I hear. At the same time, I think we can't appreciate how far we've come as a city and how far we still have to go if we haven't thought about what that meant to Pittsfield. So along comes the year 2003, and there is a huge political movement in the city of Pittsfield. And it's driven by a candidate who was running for mayor and some candidates who were running for city council, and I was one of the candidates running for city council at the time. And there was a political action committee that came together to support candidates who were running for office, who particularly women and minorities, but people who had progressive ideas. It was an amazing alignment of thinking, philosophy, courage about we are going to take our city past, beyond our past, honor it, and we're going to pivot and move away from it. Now, we had some things going for us, this group of political activists who wanted to start taking over some leadership responsibility for our city. So and I'll tell you about that in a second. So a new mayor was elected, a new city council was elected, and this group of 12, one mayor and 11 members of the city council, and a group of professionals in our city government had an alignment of belief about what are we going to do next for Pittsfield? How do we redefine ourselves, right? So we take office and we begin immediately thinking about art and culture and how to connect our city to the rest of our county. How many of you have been to the Berkshires or are familiar with Berkshire County? Right? Thank you. That's a lot of people. I'm so glad you've spent time there. From North County, which would be Williamstown, where Williams College is, all the way to South County, Sheffield, Great Barrington, that part of our county, there are incredible art and culture institutions. Theater, galleries, museums, amazing dance at Jacob's Pillow. We have Tanglewood. So our county is rich with art and culture, internationally renowned. You know who wasn't part of it? The biggest city in the county. We had no value up until about the year 2003 for art and culture. We had a little museum there, and we had some theaters that were vacant and run down and uncared for. And it was clear to me and others who began serving in political leadership at the time that we were missing out on a very important economy and a very important way to move our city past our group depression by celebrating art and culture. The very first hard vote I ever took as a member of the city council was to appropriate $1 million. Right, now remember, Pittsfield is in decline. We had been given a fund of money from GE as their parting gift. We've contaminated your land, but here's some money. And we took, it was a $10 million fund. We took $1 million of that fund to restore the Colonial Theater. I don't know if you're familiar with the Colonial Theater, but it's been described by James Taylor, who performed a PBS special in that theater after it was restored, as a jewelry box. When I walk into it now, I am still in awe of how beautiful this theater is. And I'm going to tell you something that was a hard vote to take because many people in Pittsfield did not get it. Oh, this is for a different group. This is for the elite. This is the wine and cheese crowd. We don't need theater. We need industry. Well, I happen to think you can do both things at the same time. And if you are working on creating a place where people want to live, comes along opportunities for economic growth and supporting business and jobs. And art and culture is a key piece, in my mind, of creating a place where people want to live. So that began our long journey where we supported the Colonial Theater in its restoration. And then Barrington Stage came. And we had storefront artists who took occupied vacant storefronts on our downtown and made art in full view of the public, and people could walk into the studio space and experience and interact with the artists. Now, the next thing that we did, and what I think is a very important message that I hope I can leave with you today, at the same time that we were investing in the Colonial Theater and Hancock Shaker Village and Barrington Stage with money, we also created the Office of Cultural Development, which is a department inside city government. So that was another one of my proud votes. Yes, we as a city government are going to make a very specific and intentional department whose role it is to advance art and culture and be a network between our artists, our cultural institutions, and the city of Pittsfield. So that department exists today, and for small money, $120,000 is our annual municipal budget for the Office of Cultural Development. We are able to leverage that network of planning, funding, grants, And it really put a stake in the ground that Pittsfield is serious about their art and culture community. We support our artists. We believe that they enrich our lives, that they can help us grow our economy. Yes, we need small and mid-sized advanced manufacturers. We're not going to make the same mistake we made when we put all of our hopes and dreams in one company. We're not doing that again. We're going to support a diverse economy, and that includes the art and culture economy. I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to the conversation as we carry on for this morning.
Thank you so much, Mayor Tyer. Pittsfield really is a model that we look to for our cultural development and collaborative spirit, and your leadership has really been central to that, and we appreciate it very much.